The automatic doors slid open, and Magic Johnson stepped into the bustling corridor of St. Luke's Memorial Hospital, his 6'9" frame instantly drawing attention. Nurses whispered. A young man in a Lakers hoodie fumbled his phone for a picture, but Magic didn't notice. His eyes were fixed on the floor ahead, lips pressed into a thin line, shoulders tight beneath his tailored blazer. He was here for a routine checkup, nothing more. But something about hospitals made him uneasy. Maybe it was the smell, that sterile mix of bleach, latex, and distant sorrow. Or maybe it was the quiet moments between footsteps, when memories had room to sneak in. As he passed the waiting area, something caught in his chest. A sound. Not a voice, not a machine. A rhythm. Slow. Swish. Tap. Swish. Tap. Mopping. His gaze drifted toward the end of the hallway where a cleaning lady, in a faded blue uniform and sensible sneakers, moved with measured grace. Her back was slightly hunched. Her hands were gloved. But even from behind, something about the way she held herself tugged at a forgotten part of him. No, it couldn't be. He took a few slow steps closer. The woman paused, dipping the mop into a bucket and wringing it out with strong, practiced motions. She turned slightly, and the world stopped. It wasn't just recognition, it was something deeper, a memory that hit so hard it felt like it had waited years to resurface. Her face was older, wrinkled and weary, but those eyes... "Miss Dolores," he whispered, barely audible. She didn't hear him. He stepped closer. "Miss Dolores?" This time she turned fully, and the moment her eyes met his, the mop handle slipped from her hands and clattered against the linoleum. Magic, she breathed, her voice trembling. He felt the air leave his lungs. It was her, Dolores Parker, the woman who'd taken him in as a boy when his parents couldn't. The woman who taught him how to tie his shoes, how to write thank you notes, how to keep his chin up after a bad game. The woman who disappeared one night without explanation when he was 17, gone without a trace. He'd searched. Years later, when the fame had come, when he finally had the means, he'd looked everywhere. Every Detroit registry, every California record. Nothing. It was like she had vanished, and now here she was, wearing a name tag that read D. Parker, pushing a mop in a hospital hallway in a city he wasn't even supposed to be in today. He didn't know what to say. "You're..." he began, but stopped. Dolores covered her mouth with a gloved hand, tears welling in her eyes. "I thought I'd never see you again," she said, voice cracking. "Where did you go?" he asked, stepping forward. "Why did you leave?" Her body shook slightly and she gripped the edge of her cart for balance. "I had to. I didn't have a choice." "But you did," he said, softer than he meant to. "You were the only one who stayed when everyone else left. And then you left. People were watching now." A nurse behind the desk paused mid-call. But Magic didn't care. Dolores's lips quivered. She opened her mouth to speak, and then closed it. "Can we talk?" he asked. "Somewhere quiet?" She nodded, slowly. As they walked down the corridor together, side by side, for the first time in decades, neither of them noticed the whispers or the phones snapping photos. All they could feel was the past rising up between them, full of questions, pain, and maybe, just maybe, the chance for answers. Want to know why Dolores vanished without a trace? Keep watching. And if this moment hit you, like it hit Magic, subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments below. They found an empty consultation room just past radiology. No windows, no distractions. Just 4 beige walls and 2 worn-out chairs. Magic sat across from her, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. Dolores folded her hands in her lap, the rubber gloves still on. For a moment, they just stared. "You look good," she said gently, breaking the silence. "Healthier than the last time I saw you." He chuckled softly, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I've had time to heal." Dolores nodded. "Good." He looked down at the floor, his voice lower now. "You were the only one who didn't treat me like some broken kid. Everyone else just, kept waiting for me to fail." "I knew you wouldn't," she said. "Not even when your parents couldn't handle it anymore." He flinched. Dolores noticed. "Sorry." No, I want honesty. That's what you always gave me. He paused, then leaned in. So, tell me. Why did you leave? She looked down, her jaw tightening. Because I was going to lose you either way. He didn't understand. I was being investigated, she said. Child services. Some neighbor filed a complaint. Said it was inappropriate. A single woman keeping a teen boy. They thought I was after your money or your future earnings or I don't know what. But they were building a case. If they'd taken it to court, you'd have been put in a group home or worse and sent back. Back to my parents, he muttered. She nodded. So you left to protect me? He asked. I left so there'd be nothing for them to fight over, she said. If I wasn't in the picture, the complaint fell apart. You got to stay in school, play ball. You got your chance. But I lost you. Dolores blinked back tears. And I lost everything. I had to change cities, names, jobs. Cleaning paid under the table back then. I've done it ever since. He stared at her, the calloused hands, the stooped posture, the fatigue in her voice. All this time, he whispered, you were out here struggling. She smiled, soft and tired. It wasn't your burden. I would have helped you. You couldn't have. Not then. You were just a boy with a big heart and too much on his shoulders. He leaned back in his chair, running a hand down his face. Why didn't you try to find me later? I did, dozens of times. But you were already someone else. Your life was too big, bright. I didn't want to be the shadow creeping into it. He was quiet for a long moment. You were never a shadow. You were my light. The words hung between them. I kept every letter you left on the kitchen table that night, he added. Every word you wrote. Her face twisted, and she turned away, wiping a tear. I should have fought harder, she said. He stood slowly and crossed the room. Gently, he took her gloved hand in his. You did fight, he said. You just did it quietly. And alone. They stood like that for a few seconds. Then Dolores looked up at him, the corners of her mouth lifting just slightly. So, what now? She asked. Magic hesitated. Now I think I'd like to know where you live. Maybe visit. Maybe bring someone, my son, my wife. Her eyes widened. You're sure? I lost you once. I'm not doing that again. She smiled, wide this time, and nodded. The apartment was small, a one-bedroom unit in a low-rise building tucked behind a strip mall in Inglewood. The curtains were thin, the carpet beige and worn. A framed photograph of a younger Dolores stood on the shelf next to a potted plant struggling to stay alive. Magic ducked as he entered. The doorframe was low. Sorry, it's modest, Dolores said, setting down the keys. He smiled. You kidding? This is bigger than my first place in Lansing. She chuckled and offered him tea. When he declined, she poured some for herself and eased into the armchair that faced the small television. The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It was full, like they were both trying to let things settle inside. Does your wife know about me? Dolores asked. He hesitated. She does now. Dolores nodded. She had a lot of questions, he added. She wanted to meet you. Dolores raised her brows. Really? She said, any woman who helped raise me deserves a proper thank you. Her eyes misted. She blinked and looked away. And my son, Magic said. Andre. I told him about you. What did he say? He asked if you had any pictures of me as a kid. You know, something embarrassing he could use. Dolores laughed, the sound rough but real. I've got one of you at 12, wearing socks on your hands because you thought it helped with your free throws. Magic groaned. Don't ever show him that. I make no promises. He smiled, but there was something else brewing beneath it. I brought something, he said, reaching into his coat pocket. A small, carefully folded envelope. He placed it on the table between them. What is it? An invitation. She stared. He continued. Next month is my foundation's anniversary dinner. Lotta big names, celebrities, press. Her expression dimmed. I want you to come, he said, as my guest. Sit next to me. Be seen. Be known. She shook her head slowly. Magic, I clean floors. You raised a kid when no one else would. That's more than most in that room have ever done. She looked down at the envelope. I'm not trying to drag you into the spotlight, he added, but I've told a lot of stories about how I made it. I left you out, not because I forgot, but because I didn't know how to explain losing you. She swallowed. It's time people knew the truth. I want them to know. Still, she didn't answer, just stared at that envelope like it might bite her. A knock on the door broke the moment. Dolores stood and opened it to find a teenage neighbor holding a bag of groceries. Here, Miss D, the boy said. Store was out of your brand again. Thank you, baby, she replied, taking the bag and slipping him a $5 bill. Tell your mama I said hi. She closed the door and turned back toward Magic. You always been like this? He asked. Looking after everyone? It's who I am. Then come be that, just one night, in front of people who need to see it. Dolores looked at him, then at the envelope again. She reached for it, slowly, and tucked it into her sweater pocket. I'll think about it, she said. Magic smiled. That's all I ask. The banquet hall was glittering. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths. Waiters in pressed black vests weaving through tables with trays of hors d'oeuvres. Magic stood near the stage, tuxedo sharp, smiling for photos and shaking hands with donors, players, executives. He kept glancing toward the entrance. Then he saw her. Dolores stood in a navy blue dress that stopped just past her knees, simple but elegant. Her gray hair was pulled back neatly. She wore low heels and carried a small clutch she kept clutched tightly in her hands. Their eyes met. Magic stepped forward. You made it. I said I'd think about it, she said. Didn't say no. He grinned. Come on. I want you to meet some people. They moved through the crowd. He introduced her to his wife, Cookie, and to Andre, who wrapped her in a warm hug and asked for that picture. She laughed. Then came the cameras. Just one shot, Irvin, called a photographer from the Times. Magic nodded. He stood with Cookie on one side, Dolores on the other. Flash. Someone asked, Who's the woman? Magic didn't hesitate. My second mother, he said, with no air of performance, no need for explanation. Saved my life when I needed it most. That photo ran the next morning. By noon it was viral. Blogs, sports sites, talk shows. They all wanted to know the story. Magic's foundation issued a short statement confirming her name and role in his early years, but it wasn't enough. Commentators speculated. Headlines bloomed. The woman who raised Magic. Mystery mom resurfaces. The cleaning lady with a secret. Dolores turned off her phone. By evening, a camera crew was outside her apartment. I didn't ask for this, she said, voice tight over the line. Magic heard the panic in her tone. I'll handle it, he said. We'll move you. I've got a team. I don't want your money, Magic. I just want my life back. He was quiet. Everything I did in the shadows on purpose, she added. I never wanted to be part of this world. I know, he said gently, but you're part of my world, and now people know the truth. I didn't want them to. I did. That silence again. She sighed. I don't belong in those pictures. You belong in every one of them, he replied. A beat. I'll come over tomorrow, he said. We'll talk, just you and me. She didn't say yes. She didn't say no. But when he pulled up the next morning, she wasn't there. The door was ajar. Inside, the apartment was stripped of anything personal. The framed photo gone. The plant, the armchair, the envelope, all gone. No note, no goodbye. It felt like 17 all over again. Magic stood in the doorway, stunned, until the building manager came out from across the hall. She left early this morning, he said. Said she was going to be gone a while. Paid rent through the end of the month. Magic clenched his jaw. Did she say where? No, just said not to worry. He closed the door gently behind him. Outside, the press vans were parked crooked along the curb. He didn't stop for them. He got in his car, shut the door, and sat with his head against the steering wheel. This time there were no letters left behind. No explanation, just silence, the kind that echoed with old memories and new regrets. The envelope was plain, stamped with no return address. It arrived at the Lakers executive office 2 weeks later. buried under piles of fan mail and business memos. An assistant placed it on Magic's desk without a second thought. He opened it without expecting anything until he saw the handwriting. Slanted, careful, familiar. His breath caught. Dear Magic, I'm sorry I left again. But I didn't want to become someone else's narrative. I know now I can't erase myself from your story, and maybe I shouldn't try, but I needed to leave before the noise swallowed who we really were. You were never mine by blood, but you were always mine by heart. That's the part I hope you carry forward. There was more. I watched you speak on that stage. I saw your pride. I heard you call me your mother. That meant more than you know. Please don't look for me again. I've done what I came to do. You found me, and I found you, grown and thriving and full of grace. That's enough. Love always, D. Magic folded the letter slowly like something sacred. He sat back in his chair and stared out at the skyline, letting the silence fill him. He wanted to scream. He wanted to drive to every city in the state, find every motel and diner, show every stranger her photo. But something in her words stopped him. Don't look for me again. He knew that tone. It wasn't anger. It was peace. She had said what she needed to say. She had left him not with silence this time, but with clarity. He carried the letter home. That night, over dinner, he shared it with Cookie. Then, with Andre. They sat together, the three of them, rereading her words aloud. Each time they found something new in them, something both painful and healing. A few days later, Magic went down into the storage room beneath the house, the one filled with trophies and signed jerseys and boxes from the old days. He found the shoebox marked Dolores. Inside were the letters she'd left the night she first disappeared. Soft paper, yellowing now, folded neatly. He placed the new letter on top of them, and then he did something he hadn't done in years. He wrote her back. Dear Miss Dolores, I got your note. I won't come looking, I understand, but you need to know something. You didn't raise a star. You raised a man, and he never stopped needing you, even when he couldn't find you. Thank you for everything. If you ever change your mind, you know where to find me. Love, Irvin. He didn't send it, just folded it and placed it under hers in the box. Weeks passed. The noise faded. The stories died down, but in quiet corners of his life, at games, in charity events, during long drives, Magic thought about her, about what she gave up and what she gave him. Some days he'd catch himself smiling at nothing, hearing her laugh in his memory, seeing her mop bucket sloshing across a hospital floor. Watching her hands, strong, steady, unshakable, wring out every burden, every lie the world tried to throw at her. And in those moments, he didn't feel abandoned. He felt held. If this story moved you, don't leave quietly. Hit subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. The next story waiting on your screen was picked just for you, and you're going to love it.